Hey guys, it's Glenn and Jace here from TJM Northern Beaches. The hottest topic on the market at the moment is GVM upgrades. We're getting a lot of questions, there's a lot of misinformation, so we've decided we're going to jump on a Zoom chat with the man himself, Jason from JMACX, to answer all those questions for you. Obviously, thanks for your time. You know, we know we're both very busy people, so we appreciate this, but we think that discussions like this need to be had as a bit of an educational piece, especially for our customers, because a lot of the customers we're seeing these days, they don't know the ins and outs of GVMs and GCMs and all the rest of it. So, you know, we find ourselves constantly educating them, and we know that you're at the forefront of this. So we thought we'd take the opportunity to have a chat. Mate, first question, where do you see the GVM industry heading in the next few years? Because it's obviously changing a lot day to day.
Yeah, look, it's a never-ending changes on that space, and I suppose what it is, it's becoming more about the compliance side of it and the liability side of it. So under SSM, the federal government holds the SSM holder liable. Under post-rego, the state is liable. So what happens now is the state has VSB 14, which is WA's just implemented that as well now, where you have to meet VSB 14 for post-rego. So they're not acknowledging SSMs anymore. And the reason they're not acknowledging it is because it's not the manufacturer's liability if there's a problem. The other side of it is under SSM, and the confidence was lost by the state governments because you're not having to provide evidence. So you don't have to provide chassis evidence, you don't have to provide diff evidence, you don't have to, whole heap of stuff you don't have to do because as an SSM holder, you accept liability. Under the state rules, there's criteria to meet and you can't eat into safety margins. Under SSM, you can eat into safety margins as your own responsibility. It's a complete minefield. So what we're seeing now is, as an SSM holder post-rego, you've got to meet VSB 14 and you have to have all the data and everything. So JMACX as a business, we take zero risk. So everything we do, we test with zero risk and we work on VSB 14 as the guideline because for us, that future-proofs what we're trying to do. So, you know, I think we're one of the only companies out robotic testing, you know, because we want to make sure that if we're doing our lift and tires, that we are meeting the ESC requirements for post-rego. We're doing LS16 GCM. So as a SSM holder, they don't have to do anything for GCM. They can just claim it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So if you guys are doing the post-rego, that'll cover the pre-rego obviously as well. So that's
it's that whole part where, you know, we're meeting a requirement and we're aiming to meet that requirement on both levels to show that we're doing the right work. So a good example, we're out LS16 testing multiple vehicles. Some of them won't do it in their standard tuning form when it comes to gearbox and engine tuning. And we're not talking about massive power increases, we're about calibration of autos and engines to ensure that it can do that GCM safely. So, you know, we did, and I'll give you a quick example. We did a test on a 300 series dual cab that we do. We loaded that car up to 4.5 ton. We put a 8-meter plate boat loaded with fuel, etc. And we did our own, not just our GCM testing on with a dyno trailer and under all the test parameters under LS16. We went out and did independent on our own up a range. Whilst we were putting power into the 300 and locking the converter up and doing all those things to get the mass moving, to get it off the line, to deal with the gradients, as we progressed up the range, we were pulling power out of the car to maintain temperature. So by the time we got to this massive range, at the very top of this range, the vehicle was virtually making the same power as factory. Now, when you go to a tuner, what do? Oh, here's 60% more power. That's a fail because it's okay on a normal car that you're driving, but you load that up to excessive GVM, GCM, you're reliant now on the customer understanding and knowing what he's doing and being sympathetic on the car.
Is that that'd be a dangerous reliant to rely on?
That is a dangerous line in the sand. And we've seen, haven't we seen 300s? There's been a few issues with 300s. and most of those have had power upgrades. And the reason for it is you can't just keep dumping power in. You've got to pull power out. You've got to change the converter lockup, and you've got to do all these things to maintain safe operating temperatures on the box and the engine. And that's what we're really pushing into. And in the Prado was in the same boat. The 300 was in the same boat. We also do recalibration on the 200s for their GCM increases. So not just, hey, dude, here's a set of springs and shocks, and you can do GVM, you can do GCM, you can do whatever the hell you want. You need to back it with proper testing.
100%. That's what we're sort of getting at. So you've pretty much answered 3 questions in that one answer. So that was brilliant. So
the other side of that discussion, we talk about the whole GVM GCM side. We talk about axle loadings. Axle loadings is a key part of that GVM space. You can't give someone 900 kilos of extra GVM and then give them no axle rating. It just doesn't work.
It's surprising how other people get away with getting a GVM or GCM through if they're not even.
Do you know how it works? And I'll tell you how it works on an SSM scale. You take the original manufacturer's axle ratings, front and rear, which are generally, when you add those two numbers together, they're already greater than the GVM, right? What they'll do under good engineering practice is they'll add 10% to those. Let's use Toyota as an example. They'll take a 79 series and they'll go, factory axle rating is 1480 on the front, 23 on the rear. We'll safely add 10% to those, eating into the safety margin that Toyota gave. We'll eat into that, and then whatever that number is, we could do 4200 GVM, or we'll take risk and we'll go more than 10%, eating into more safety margin to get those numbers up. But the reality of it is, most cars that come through that are loaded to GVM on the OE axle are overloaded.
It's amazing how that can, it's not really considered as much as what it should be. And
that's the point is I think under the VSB 14, the safety margin's 2 to 1 on an axle. So it's anything less than 2 to 1 doesn't comply. Now, what's been happening post-rego right across the country, it actually states it in the legislation that you can't re-rate an OEM axle. However, that's standard procedure and they accept it post-rego. However, you should be, if you want more, you need to do more. And I think that's always been our business model. If you want more, do more and make sure that the car does it well and does it safely.
Do you think there's a chance that, and I don't know much about the back end of things, is in relation to the current GVMs, which are maybe deemed unsafe in the future, would they be maybe crossed out as null and void, or that's impossible for that to happen, or they're just not going to be able to be gotten moving forward?
They're not going to touch in-service cars. And this is probably what you see across the board is, and I like a good example of that would be JMACX as a business. We're doing 4-inch 35s on 79 series post-rego with the blessing of the transport departments. Their understanding changed on what was required for ESC. So and it was their understanding, I suppose. The legislation was never changed. It was the way they understood it. It changed, and then they said to us, hey, you can no longer do 4-inch and 35s post-rego without an ESC test. Doesn't make all the cars we did previously illegal. We did that under their blessing. We had their permission to do so, and we did that properly because we always reach out to the Department of Transport directly. Because JMACX have always been a little bit outside the box. We're doing toe increases, we're doing coil conversions, we're doing track corrections. We're always a bit outside the box. So we always go directly to the source to ensure that we're doing things correctly. So moving forward to your question is, the Rover, we went from the RVCS scheme to the Rover scheme in the last year or so, or 2 years. And you'll see that there was a heap of SSMs that were suspended from multiple companies because of a new requirement for some of the ADRs. I think ADR 3507, I think it was, which was an updated brake report. I think we had a couple of those we had to then, but we were fortunate because we already had that test data done because we follow that VSB 14. It wasn't required on the pre-rego space. When they implemented that, all we had to do was upload the data. A lot of companies had to go back out and retest those cars. Some companies deemed it not viable to go back and retest. And so those suspensions will stay. ADR 98 is the new one that's coming through about the pedestrian, protection. That's another robotic test, which is problematic at the moment because having the testability in Australia is a problem. So they are implementing more and more, and the rover system, I would assume, will keep suspending until you comply to the current spec. That's where I think it's going. As I was saying before, under SSM, they're not required to ESC test anything. Once they go to NB1 category, over 3.5 tonne, they don't require ESC testing. We've been out ESC testing because we want to comply to post-rego as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's great, mate. Thanks for all that info. There's a lot there. Mate, without giving away too much, what do you got coming up for us?
Something.
What have we got coming up?
Something good.
Man, we are constantly under the pump, I think, with new things coming.
Anything up your sleeve the public may or may not know about?
Look, we're pushing into, I suppose, our manufacture of our 2.0 shocks. Obviously, creating another Australian-made product for the market. Just due to the massive success of the 2.5, and then people looking for a more budget-friendly option, but still with a high quality. Obviously we're pushing through Tundra, Ineos, Prado, all of that's on the boil at the moment. JMACX have now become the manufacturer of dual cab conversions for 200s and 300s. We're the only ones in the country to have GCM post-rego for those. Again, us pushing the boundaries, all of our chassis stuff that we do, again, all meeting those VSB 14 requirements for post-rego. That sort of stuff's been high on our priority at the moment. I think as a business, we're always looking for those niche markets to target. You'll see some niche products coming out for the Ineos stuff, which is, we've had a lot of discussions and workings with Ineos Australia and the Ineos dealers as well. So that's been going very well. So we've got a lot of products coming through for that.
Awesome.
It's reassuring that you guys are ahead of the curve, and so other road users too. I guess they're probably reassured too that the cars are not just GVM compliant, but they're actually done correctly and safely too. So it's always.
And I think that the other one is the upgradability of these cars as well. Like if you venture down the track of an SSM approval or a post-rego approval, getting the car stuck in one space and not being able to move forward with it. So, and I think what we focused on as a business, which no one else has, is the upgradability of our GVMs by being able to service the product and then upgrade the product and go from, a 38 or a 39 to a 42 or a 4495 or whatever the case, that upgradability of that car, future-proofing a car. So, I think we see that guys come in all the time and they go, well, I bought a 3800 GVM from XYZ. I want to go bigger. Well, start again. People can come in and buy a suspension kit from us, and then later they go, hey, I want a GVM. Well, most of those components can be upgraded, and they get advised that on their purchase what it can be upgraded to. And I think that's something that we've not really seen in the industry. Like people claim their shocks are rebuildable, but a lot of them aren't, and no one can. Whereas for us, our setting up of our service network around the country, plus our in-house manufacturer, etc., we're able to offer more in that space. And guys come in and they go, I don't need a GVM, and a year later I bought a caravan.
Yeah. So that kind of leads us into the last question, mate. What's the one piece of advice you'd give someone looking at a GVM upgrade?
So research, and when I say research, not Facebook. The problem with Facebook, anybody can have an opinion on Facebook on whatever information they pulled from wherever. Do your research properly. The old saying about poor man pays twice is true. Whilst I understand some people don't need a big GVM, you can get yourself stuck by not being able to upgrade that. And I think we see a lot of people that underestimate their weight.
Oh, 100%. We see that every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
And then they get stuck, 100%. So using something, a GVM that's upgradable, and not only pre-rego, because remember that if it's done pre-rego and that whole GVM's got to be ripped out, it goes back to post-rego regulations.
Yeah.
So that car is stuck. If it's done as an SSM and it's registered, say, let's say it's a T-Bro or JMACX car, a T-Bro car, and it needs upgrading later, well, T-Bro becomes the spec of that car. So it's fully upgradable from that point.
Yep.
So, that's the sort of stuff that people have to be aware of. But I think it's important that they reach out and talk to people in the industry on a business level, like JMACX dealers, even ARB dealers, whatever, not take their information from random people on social media and again, what's the best tire? What's the best four-wheel drive tire? It's 500 different answers because it's based on people's limited knowledge. Oh, I've been running this tire for 10 years and I've not had a problem. So in that guy's perspective, that's the best tire.
Yep.
That's right. He's never tried anything else.
What is your line in the sand? What is your experience in the industry? And I think that's what the amount of people that get caught out by bad information or people trying to peddle a product and not doing their research is problematic. That's always the case.
No, definitely. Yeah, that's our main
axle loads, massive one, man. I mean, we did a video on a 300 series wagon, and you could probably find the link to that. We physically loaded this 300 wagon up to its absolute best case scenario with 400 kilo guys, bull bar, 35-inch tires, and loaded the rest of the vehicle up to 4.2 ton. You needed a minimum of 2,600 kilos of rear axle load.
Yep.
Yet most of the other manufacturers are re-rating their axles at maximum 24, which is already 400 kilos over what Toyota recommend, and they're selling you a GVM. Can't use it.
No.
That's silly, and all those people aren't going to go on a diet and lose all that weight all of a sudden, are they? So that weight's always going to be there.
You're buying something you can't use. It's like buying a liter of bloody milk with a hole halfway up the bottle. That's what you're buying.
Yeah.
Nice, mate. Anything else you'd covered there?
Mate, that's all my questions, unless you got any more.
Mate, I've always got questions for Jace, but we've got limited times in the day, but I think you've covered everything we sort of wanted to go through. And Scotty,
another one that's probably that I probably didn't cover, and it's probably interesting to cover, was tyre sizes on SSMs post-rego.
Okay. Yep.
So we have a lot of correspondence with Highway Patrol in Queensland and New South Wales, and also the Department of Transports, etc. There's a misconception that if you get an SSM GVM upgrade, the 50 mil tyre rule applies to that car.
Okay.
It is incorrect. So what the Highway Patrol guys are doing is they're pulling cars over with SSMs, which are obviously second stage of manufacture GVMs. If your tyre size does not meet your placard, they are defecting you.
Yeah, right.
Now, the reason for it is the first stage manufacturer has safety margins built into the car. So what the transport allow is 2 inches of additional lift and 50 mil of additional tyre, right? That's a tolerance allowance, a safety, what they call safety. Now, when we get a GVM upgrade done, what are we doing? We're eating into the manufacturer's safety margins.
Yeah.
You don't get 2 bites at that. You don't get to go and turn around and go, well, I can get a second stage vehicle manufacturer, and this is, you'll understand this as a TJM dealer, that would mean a TJM GVM at 2 inches of lift and say 20, 30 mil bigger tyre can now go another 2 inches of lift and another 50 mil of tyres on top of what your approval is.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
It's concerning.
GVM upgrades are specifically to the test data that they're relevant for. So the reason we go out and test as an SSM is we have to test smallest tyre. We have to test biggest tyre.
Yeah.
So you'll see most GVM upgrades, do they upgrade the brakes?
Yep.
Oh, do they? No, they don't.
No, they don't.
They don't upgrade the brakes. No, we always suggest a brake upgrade, but yeah, JMACX sort of you got to have it in most situations,
Well, the
or the
point
brake
is
booster.
that we take all that testing and we go to those bigger tires, and that's why we do the brake upgrades, because we test them, and we test them with the bigger tires. So these guys are testing on an OEM tire, not having to prove anything. So you don't get two bites at, you can't go and put 4-inch lift in an ARB car or a TJM car that's done a second stage manufacture and go to a 35-inch tire. So the rule doesn't apply across the board. If you have an SSM, it as per the SSM test data.
Yeah, it's concerning.
Now, So there's your insurance on all your vehicles, all that sort of stuff, and all your engineering and compliance.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there doing the wrong thing without any GVM, but then there's people who think they do have a GVM and it's not so compliant as such. But well, in the eyes of the law, it might be, but not really, not safe. Yeah.
And the other one that we see too is on chassis work.
Yep.
They don't under SSM, they're not providing data on the chassis work. They're not required to. So, the
whole kettle of fish. Like it doesn't take like 20 people to lose their lives before, or somebody important to die in relation to the incorrect GVM complied for them to realise that a lot of clowns out there aren't really doing it properly.
Let's face it. We've seen some big 79s roll over on the highway and all that sort of stuff. There's been quite a bit of it. And I think that's, and I think the problem is the transport post-rego. They're pushing now to try and straighten all this out and to, they used to use what they called engineer's discretion. Okay. So what the post-rego, the engineer would look at it and go, look, mate, looks like you've done a good job and I'm pretty happy with it. And, you've followed all the procedures. Well, that's all gone now.
Well, that's good because you can't really trust an engineer's discretion most of the time anyway. It's good to sort of, like, not by case, but just, overall, it's not the greatest sort of thing to rely on. So,
So no test data. No engineering data, no approval, and that's how it's going. And this is when you say, where's the future of GVMs going? This is where it's going. You must have evidence and data for everything.
Okay, right. Well, that's good. We've got the backup with JMACX with you guys have all that ready to go if required. So, or when required, I should say. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
So, sounds good, mate.
So before we wrap up, mate, when's your next trip? Got anything planned?
Oh, no, nothing yet. No, nothing yet at that stage. I've been too busy, so unfortunately, that's the catch, isn't it?
Yeah, it is the catch, definitely.
It's catch, mate. When we're up there next, mate, we'll make sure to drop in and say hello.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, well, thanks, Jace, very much for your time, mate. That was very informative information. Hopefully it gets out there to the right people. And hopefully we can do this again very, very soon.
No worries, guys. Thanks. I appreciate you asking. And I think in our day and age now, information is key.
Definitely.
I think that's the biggest thing is information is key now. It's people need to be well informed.
Yep, 100%, mate. We agree. So, we'll wrap it up there. And once again, mate, thank you very much for your time.
Too easy. Thanks, boys.
Appreciate it, mate. Cheers, bud. What's up?